James West, I'm coming for you. I'll see you on Midas Letter Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to our show number 100 here on this Monday, November 12th. I had to think about that. It was not a long weekend. Big news today. Brad Rogers, President and Chief Operating Officer of CanTrust Holdings, today announced his resignation from the company. In an exclusive interview with yours truly, he said he was taking some time to spend with family while simultaneously getting ready to develop additional new opportunities in the exploding U.S. cannabis sector. We'll be staying tuned to see what Brad Rogers is up to next. Also this week, there's going to be multiple announcements from companies on their financial statements. Kicking it off was Aurora Cannabis announcing their financial and operational results for the first quarter of 2019. Highlights include an increase in quarterly revenue to $29.7 million, up 260% compared to the same period in 2018. Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday, November 13th. We got a really big show lined up for you here, a really big show. My friend Special Ed will be joining us shortly to talk about what happened in the market today, the carnage, the bloodshed, the fury. We have Health Technologies CEO Hamed Shahbazi here. If you don't remember that name, Hamed Shahbazi is a serial entrepreneur who has taken many companies into sell forward success. He's going to be here talking about his latest venture. At 3:30 live, we're going to have InMed Chief Business Officer John Blacher. Blacher? I don't know. We'll ask him when he gets here. And then the main event, at 3:40, we're going to have mixed martial arts fighter Elias Theodorou is going to be in the studio, and he's talking about the relationship between cannabis use in professional sports, and particularly with the idea of fighting the stigma of medical cannabis that seems to exist across professional sports. Then we're going to have LGC Capital CEO John McMullen and EasyJoint founder Luca Marola are going to be here. Ed and I, of course, are then going to dissect and deconstruct a couple of charts and try to make sense of what's going on in the universe. And if we do, you should send us half of your earnings. No, just kidding. Anyways, we'll be talking about a couple of new companies that we're looking at. We'll be talking about a company that just went public today called Green Brands. This is a highly anticipated company that came to market with what is starting to look like a great structure. But now, before we go any further, and without any further ado, we're going to talk about the events that are moving markets today. First of all, the Supreme Cannabis Company decided it was going to go into the investor relations business through the acquisition of communications and stakeholder relations firm Bayfield Strategy. Bayfield's CEO will be appointed the CCO of Supreme to help with driving global growth. The acquisition is being pursued to accelerate the company's strategic priorities and communications efforts. How's that for a good, strong jump into the communication space? Cronos Group reported a net loss of $7.27 million in their Q3 financial results released today for the period ending September 30th, 2018. The company increased their revenues by 186% year over year to $3.76 million, of which 29% was represented by their cannabis oil sales. Some business highlights over the quarter include their completed construction and licensing of the 286,000 square foot indoor production facility, which will become fully operational in phases. Their announced partnership with Ginkgo Bioworks to produce cultured cannabinoids was completed in the quarter, and the creation of Naturera, the first cannabis CMO in Latin America to receive a non-psychoactive plant license. CMO. WeedMD announced that they've secured a license from Health Canada to sell cannabis cultivated at its greenhouse facility in Strathroy, Ontario. The original ACMPR license was successfully migrated to a license under the Cannabis Act and its regulations. Sales license allows the company to transport cannabis from its Strathroy greenhouse to its nearby indoor facility in Aylmer, Ontario, for packaging and distribution to its medical and adult use customers. And FSD Pharma today announced that they have migrated their original ACMPR license to be able to sell other licensed producers' product and have expanded their growth production footprint. The company received license amendments approving all of the remaining 25,000 square feet currently built out for additional grow and operations. Green Thumb Industries announced that they've signed a definitive agreement to acquire 100% of Integral Associates, a cannabis operator in Nevada. The transaction is valued at approximately $290 million, with $52 million to be paid in cash and approximately 20.8 million subordinate voting shares of GTI. The acquisition includes Integral Associates retail brand Essence, which currently operates 3 high-traffic locations across the Las Vegas Valley. Desert Grown Farms, a 54,000 square foot cultivation and processing facility, and Cannabiotics, Nevada, a 41,000 square foot cultivation and processing facility. Trulieve Medicine International Limited has launched a new line of hemp-based cat treats, which is now available in Europe. Meow! The new product for cats include 5 hemp-based treats and 2 hemp toys to address common feline health concerns such as anti-hairball, urinary tract support, a proportion of hip and joint health in adult cats. Village Farms International reported $1.9 million U.S. net loss, equivalent to 4 cents U.S. per share in their Q3 2018 results released today. Sales have decreased 11% to $39.7 million U.S. Some business highlights for the quarter include receiving their cannabis sales license from Health Canada in late July and the commencement of cannabis sales in September. They also announced a bought deal offering this quarter of 3 million common shares of the company at a price of $7.13 for aggregate gross proceeds of approximately $22 million. Valens Growworks began trading at market open today on the OTCQB under the symbol MYMSF, and those are the stories that are moving our markets today. I don't like to be asked, but big time show today, Ed.
Big time show. Tilray coming out with earnings at 4-ish.
Yeah, Tilray, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because the last time they came out, the stock took off, and I kept saying, look at this thing go up on what I thought was a shit quarter. And
look at that.
Now.
Yeah, that was a $12 million quarter. So was there a consensus on what we're supposed to see this quarter?
I don't know. All I know is
the stock's going to take off to $300 again?
No. No, that ain't going to happen. But it could go up $20. Could go up $20. Yeah, that move's usually that's like a 100-year flood move.
Once in a 100-year flood move. Got any charts for us today, Eddie? People want to know. The people want to know.
You know what chart? I don't even know how to put it up, but we should put up the oil, the ETF for oil.
Oh, why? You were depressed? You want to get depressed?
Listen. Oil is a fairly liquid
substance,
commodity.
Boy, that's analysis if I've ever heard it.
Why is the price of oil gone from $76 5 weeks ago, and I think today at one point was under 56?
I would say it all has to do with reserves, inventory.
Yeah, but how can they say 5 weeks ago, looks like we're going to see $100 soon, and now we see 55? In other words, something's going on. No?
Something's going on.
Well, something's going on. There's another profound statement. Hey, what's going on?
Something is happening.
Something is happening.
The market.
Okay, so I will say this. The S&P is not broken down. That reverse head and shoulders that we've talked about a couple times, everything's intact. I think this market's going to fool a lot of people and turn around. The big markets, I'm not talking about, that's the one right there. That chart, you see that candle today? It went down below, but it's not. Here we go.
This is the S&P 500?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
You got a little pen in there that you can draw on?
Yeah, I got a little pen. I should have it ready. Oh, I found it in the first move. And here goes. Click, click, click. There we go. And this is the sort of like the shoulder. Here's the other one. and they're both, you know,
Those look like breasts to me. Saggy ones.
Saggies. Anyway.
But so what's happening?
Well, it's trying. I mean, everything's ugly, and yet the market's not getting pounded. So that's what I like to see. But one thing here, there is a gap here. It usually gets filled. So maybe we have a real crazy down day, and then it rallies back.
Oh yeah.
But look, I digress.
You digress. Why do you digress?
Better than undress.
So let's see here. I think that we need to talk to a bit about. I'm hesitant to pull up a chart on the cannabis indices. Here they come. Oh!
Ouch!
There's the writing is on the wall.
Look at this, down 3. Down
3
You know,
points.
the smaller ones don't seem to be down much.
Well, everything's off the same as it was yesterday, 1 to 3%.
I did a small short on Afria today.
You did a small short on Afria?
Yeah, just to keep my,
Just to piss yourself off?
Well, I closed it out and made few bucks.
Did ya?
Nothing, enough to buy me some beer later.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Free beer.
Now, look at the large cap chart here.
Yeah.
It has.
I like looking at it as long as it's accurate.
So now
It's been rejigged again?
Yeah, no, it's accurate again.
Okay, good. Looks accurate.
It's been blended. The you're looking at that low over on the right there.
Yeah.
Over here, and
where?
Well, you see where the bars are dancing around over there. Let's see. Let's go to full page here, full screen.
Yeah. Do the okay.
Okay, so looking over here on the far right.
Say, show which one? This one?
So down here, this is the last time the S&P went for a crapper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got that little recovery all the way up to here.
Yeah.
And now we're heading back into the crapper again.
Except that the S&P, I think there's a little bit of correlation here, a lot more than what we saw back in here. Although, the markets did go up nicely in the S&P, and they all peaked around the same time, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I'm seeing strong correlation to the cannabis sector now to the S&P.
Point I want to make here is that the market took off. We saw a bottom, and we identified a real. And it was the day I had my cold, and I was sitting over there having a few drinks just to dry myself out, and the market rallied dramatically.
Sitting there having a few drinks just to dry yourself out. Can we just revisit that for 1 second? So I take it they were non-alcoholic.
No, they certainly were. Red wine.
Red wine. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you were drying yourself off with some red wine.
Yeah. Clean up the sinus. The alcohol, sucks the moisture out of your sinuses. That's a new medical.
So if you have a stuffed up nose, you should drink more red wine. In other words, if you're sick, get drunk.
Nothing wrong with a little brandy. Hey, brandy, use a fine girl.
Okay, so now we're seeing this correlation. Do you think it's safe to categorize the whole cannabis sector in the same context as the tech sector now? Because look at this. This looks like the tech sector.
Okay.
And we'd have to pull up a chart to look at that. But so if I'm going to go over to the quote media charts, and I'm going to pull up.
I'm going to interrupt you here for a minute.
Oh, feel free.
I think that if the S&P can hang in here after there's lots of negative talk. This oil thing is a big thing. I don't know what's causing that, but I suggest Saudi Arabia might have something to do with this.
I want my mommy.
Yeah, mommy. But natural gas is going through the roof.
Yeah.
If that S&P can hang in there and start heading north again, that may be what the cannabis sector needs to get righted a bit. Maybe I'm dreaming. I don't know, but I think that's a possibility.
Okay.
So
this is the large cap sector in the map.
Is that? I want to click on that.
Well, this is on my computer. If you click your pen on my computer, nothing happens.
Okay, what do I want to click it on my computer?
All right, so this is this is the large cap cannabis.
Yeah, how do you put that up?
Well, so it's the little hat.
Oh Jesus,
it's a complicated. Here, let me punch it in for you.
LITTLEHAT.
No, nothing quite so simple. But
we want to make
little hat.
We're trying to be mindful of our viewers. Maybe now that we're looking at the viewers don't want to look at us.
LCC. They're looking at you, Ed, I'm telling you. Oh, what? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Made a mistake. I hit the lookup button instead of hitting enter. Okay, so ML.
I'm going to make just a little bit of
humor?
A technical point here.
Okay. All right, there you go. There you have the large cap cannabis index up. Scroll,
okay, so
squiggle and draw till your heart's
This
content.
is very similar to the S&P, but we've got a little bottom here. What? Sorry. Oh, I buggered it up. I buggered it up. There we go. Okie dokie. Okay, wait a minute. 3 months. There we go. There we go. Click. And point. I feel like the guy that does the Travago commercials. Just click.
Oh, yeah.
Point.
Oh, I can't stand those things.
Okay, so
Garrett Turner, one of our viewers, is saying that try to live your day-to-day life without using a product that is either made from a barrel of oil, relies on it to be used.
Yeah, I know. And yet oil has just collapsed. Like they're saying it's one of the most severe collapses ever.
So that means it's going to go up.
Yeah, but
it went down. Well, it's got to go up now.
You know what? Now the pessimism's in. Yeah, I would. I wish I had the balls to trade the commodity market again.
Do you remember when the markets all crashed back in 2008? Gold lost 20% in a single week. And the price of oil flirted below $30, and everybody was speculating on how low could oil go.
It went to 25, actually.
It went to $25.
Twice. Did a double bottom.
That's right. So,
and you know what? And you know where it started from? About $140.
Yeah.
At the peak.
No, I remember.
140 to 25.
The interesting thing, though, so if you consider all of the quantitative easing out, in other words, debt creation and currency creation, that was the sole catalyst for the reversal in that downward trajectory back in 2008. If you consider that, the power of all that quantitative easing now sort of petering out, because the value of money has now come to zero, so there's nobody wants. Maybe we're going to see a resumption of those downward trajectories in commodities, home prices, stock prices.
Okay, so
I think it's time to run for the hills.
The big fear that I have, and I've had, the one thing I'm trying to do is make a bet on copper, because I think copper is required for the electrification of the world. But as a proviso to the whole thing, I say, what really makes me, the one thing that I think that could be the chink in the armor is a global depression. Like, in other words, where everything goes to 10 cents on the dollar.
A financial contraction of such magnitude that
which we saw in 29, 2008. I mean, I thought that might have been it, because Lehman disappeared, Bear Stearns disappeared, things disappeared, right? Like they were there one day and then they weren't. I mean, but the whole.
My bank account, for example.
Oh Jesus! But everybody, I say that can't happen. Well, isn't that the kind of outlier event, the black swan, when everyone thinks that can't happen? Isn't that what happens? That's what happens. They say 70% of all trading now is all done by machines.
Yeah, high frequency trading algorithms. Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
and if in a way, if the whole thing fell apart, it'd be a lot less pressure for all of us. We wouldn't have to be in the rat race anymore.
Well, instead, it would just be real.
I know.
Survival of the fittest, and it would be down to it would be carnage.
Well,
it would be carnage. It would be a downward revision of the human population, such as the world has never seen.
But however, they would just keep
we're getting
money.
all
They
dark
just,
here.
I know,
we're getting all dark here, Ed. Let's talk about. Let's smoke some marijuana here.
Let's get Helicopter Ben said the problem was in 29 they didn't throw enough money out. They didn't print enough money. Well, they've done that.
Well, I don't think it's a case of they've created enough money, because all they've done is, we've just all deceived ourselves into this delusional exercise in mathematics. And there's no way that you can say that a debt rate of 120% is a sustainable, repayable debt, barring some economic explosion of unprecedented magnitude that suddenly, like a real economic event, not a fabricated one.
Oh, it looks like we have an audience.
I know.
A live audience.
Dancing around out. Oh, it's the Mary the Messenger, 325. What's going on?
It's time to throw.
Well, but no.
At 325.
Well, we're not doing,
Just at 325.
but we've got well health at 321. Changing that? Okay. All right. So 5 more minutes of banter. Where's that noise?
I know what that is. Oh yeah, there you go.
Well, we'll pause this show while Ed takes a call.
Yeah, just, you know.
Anyway,
Some
so
people-
I want to go back and look at these charts
I'm
again.
going to call him up and
because
say, yes, you're watching the show, eh, Dave? He
I'm a glutton for
Yeah, I am.
punishment.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
All right, so let's see, which are the big losers, which are the big winners here? Oops, that's the wrong, who dicky thingy me da bob bob. Cantress Holdings, look at them, down at 786 today.
Yeah, well, that number's just right at, like, there's a number.
Talk about a burning bed here. Is that because Brad Rogers got forced out?
We could be very close to it's a puke-up point, I think.
Capitulation? You're not saying it's a capitulation, is it, Ed?
People are throwing in the towel. I saw a bunch of towels on the street this morning.
So you think that the money's starting to fly out of the market because people are afraid?
People are afraid. You know, everybody's got bravado when their accounts are fattening up their bank balances. But, you know, you start to make it go the other way. People start to, they don't really listen anymore. You know what they do? They keep focusing on their bank account.
And selling begets selling.
Selling begets selling. And you wonder how it can happen when it looks so rosy.
If we draw the conclusion that the fate of the cannabis sector for the time being is very much governed by the fate of the broader markets as represented by the major indices, particularly the S&P 500.
S&P 500 we use because it's the broadest one.
Right. So that's my point. So maybe to look for the reversal in the cannabis stocks, we should be watching the S&P. Is that a fair assessment?
Is there an echo in here?
Oh, was that what you were saying?
Well, that's, yeah, I think if the S&P hangs tough, maybe I shouldn't use so many big words. I don't know.
And you might want to, finish the sentence.
Is that dangling participle? Have I got something that's dangling?
Dangling participle. What do they call that? Non sequitur. Non sequitur.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, you were on your way to saying that earlier, definitely. And that's why I put a bow on it.
Adroitly changed subject.
Well, we gotta.
So I know what you did. You changed subject so you could come back and sum it up for you.
Then it's my idea.
Oh, I'm gonna remember that one.
See, this is how you become prime minister in this country.
You know what? I think we should start a new political party right here.
Right now,
you and I should be
What are we going to call it?
Co-candidates. Co-candidates.
Co-candidates?
Co-candidates.
I know a lot of people who would vote for us, but I suspect it's not the majority. Okay, let's look at these.
You know who's going to be in town at the end of November that wants to come on the show?
Who?
It's Pedro. Pedro, which is Charlie's buddy. They're doing that private medical deal. They were here earlier, I think.
Pedro.
Remember?
No.
Charlie?
Nope.
You know Charlie from New York? Purpuritas?
Oh, Charlie Purpuritas. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be here, so we're going to...
New York Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie be here in a New York minute. Anyways, let's see. I'm, what did, 325. Yeah, look at, just ugliness everywhere. If we put them in order of who did the worst, Luxaria Biosciences is this is the small cap index. Let's go back to the big one because we don't really want to muck around with the small ones right now. So let's take a look at the index page here. And so again, Green Organic Dutchman leads the large cap sector down into the basement, having lost 7.84%. Afria added to yesterday's 9% loss with a further 7% today. Boy, look at that. Cronos down to 1106. Cronos
was down to 9-something this morning.
Wow.
And they came out with the results. They lost $7 million in a quarter.
Yeah. It was not a great quarter. They only $3 million in revenue. I know, a bit of a disappointment there. Bit of a surprise, actually. So, you got a few things compounding the downside in the weed market.
Yes.
You had GMP come out with that report saying, start watching these financials because they're going to tell the tale, and the tale is not as rosy as the promotional set has been alluding. And certainly, I think people are starting to take that to heart. Now we've had Aurora come out with a $30 million quarter, which only cost it $80 million. We have the CanTrust. CanTrust hasn't come out, but the Cronos Group came out. They lost $3 million. Oxley lost $5 million, 4.5.
Tilray is coming out tonight. We're going to watch
Tilray
that very
at 4
closely.
o'clock.
And weed tomorrow.
And weed tomorrow. So
Or
that's going to be.
Canopy.
So if I was a betting man, I would say that the market is telling us that the results are going to be shitty all around.
Yeah, you know what? I think but I want to again. I'm going to focus on the S&P here.
You know, Ed, there's a big time UFC star in town right now, and he is fighting the good fight. He's fighting a ban on cannabinoids in professional sports. You know who I'm talking about? Well, Adamo Barbieri knows what I'm talking about. Here's what he's going to tell us.
Set the strict regimens and consistently pushing themselves to the extreme. Professional athletes endure tremendous amount of stress and pain. And God, Elias, can I please stop doing this? I just wanted to interview you.
With that kind of attitude, it's going to be 3 miles.
Oh no. Athletes go down the road of using painkillers, opioids, doing whatever it takes to keep playing. Can I please stop? Nope. I just want to talk to you. 3 more? You said that already.
Elias Theodorou is a UFC fighter who is not only fighting his opponents in the Octagon, but is also fighting for the right to use medicinal cannabis throughout his training and for his recovery. Right now, cannabis is on the banned substance lists for all the professional sports, and although some leagues have different rules and regulations about the drug, anti-doping committees see cannabis as a performance-enhancing drug.
The UFC has a policy where in competition is different from out competition. At a competition, they don't test it like other Olympic sports, but they do have what's called an in-competition component. What that means is they test in your fat, and it's a blanket test for cannabinoids in the fat solubles. Although it is technically the fight week, which is considered in competition, because it stays in your fat cells, is actually longer than that. The big issue in what I'm personally fighting for is the aspect that people can opt out to more first-line medicines that are somewhat established at this moment, whereas mine will be penalized. Any opponent could have Vicodin in their system, and if I have cannabinoid in my system, I could get a suspension for 2 years. So it's kind of discrimination in regards to my own personal medicine. And again, this isn't a fly-by-night thing that I've kind of asked for. It is a prescription from my family doctor that I've now built with a long list of paperwork and the help of Solace Health to actually build my case for a therapeutic exemption.
Professional athletes do have a little bit of a challenge, is that they go through struggles of training, getting ready, and they go through this intense mechanism like competition, whether it's a fight, whether it's a match, and they need recovery and they need to be prepared for it. Cannabis works very well as an acute therapy and a recovery agent for some professional athletes, and many of them tell us that that's how they use it.
My fight is not just for me. Hopefully this does create not necessarily precedence, but more or less the opportunity for other athletes to use an alternative that fits right for them.
Former NHL enforcer Riley Cote is also an advocate for choosing pot over pills for athletic stress and strain.
The NHL does still have cannabis on the banned substance list. It's still tested for. It is kind of lumped in the street drug category for the substance abuse program. You wouldn't lose pay like you would in the NFL for testing positive for THC, but no one in the history of the drug testing program has tested positive for THC where they've gone into the substance abuse program specifically for that. When I really started feeling the therapeutic benefits, like really noticeable, was when I turned pro. And I took on a new role. I was fighting regularly. The state of anxiety was increased substantially. I was playing professional hockey and I was fighting regularly. So that was really when I started noticing how it calmed my nervous system and manage my anxiety before bed and help me sleep. The pharmaceutical meds are always around because that's the alternative. I mean, that's traditional medicines. You know, they weren't giving you cannabis or herbs to sleep. They were, you know, it was pharmaceuticals and you know, NyQuil and stuff like that. And it evolved to, once I started, you know, turn pro, I started realizing, you know, how many of these destructive substances were around. It's hard to calm the nervous system down and go to sleep at a reasonable hour, and then wake up in the morning and then be, you know, top of your game. And when I coached, I had guys on our team had mixing, you know, some THC oil in peanut butter, and after the game they're eating it on the bus because it's like all about sleep. The sooner I can sleep, the better I can wake up and the fresher I can feel. So I mean, sleep is the spine of recovery. So I mean, if you can promote that in a sustainable way, which you can with cannabis, it's a safer solution.
For Midas Letter Live, I'm Adamo Barbieri. Also, James, I'm probably not coming in tomorrow. I'm probably just gonna go smoke a joint and just rest my shoulder, ice it. You know how it is. I think I did too many push-ups. Thanks.
Joining me now in studio is the main event himself. Mr. Elias Theodorou is here. Elias, do you think you could kick my ass in an MMA cage fight?
Yes, I do.
Elias, you've been working with the anti-doping agency on their medical marijuana policy for athletes during in-competition periods. You want them to allow the use of cannabinoids as a recovery tool.
Yeah, moreover, allow them to recognize what my doctor has already diagnosed and prescribed as a medical cannabis patient. So what comes into play is the fact that obviously being in Canada, we have certain you know, medical guidelines, etc., and a process that we are doing. And USADA, the anti-doping agency, is an American base, so there is a little difference in regards to the way they treat medical cannabis. Obviously, with America still being a classifying cannabis as a Schedule I drug, they technically don't see there being a medical property to cannabis, where Canada, and moreover the CCS, which is the USADA's alternative in Canada, or subsequent anti-doping agency in Canada, it's called the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sports, and they actually lobbied to remove cannabis from the prohibited list where it currently resides. And the big issue with what I'm trying to do is the fact that, and also talk in public, is to bring in light that cannabis right now is on the prohibited list, deeming it a performance-enhancing drug, but it simply is not.
Performance enhancing, I would think quite the opposite.
Well, that's exactly the point. And for me as a patient, what I personally use it is for pain management. I have a condition called bilateral neuropathic pain. It's essentially nerve damage. It's prevalent in my upper extremities. And the way to kind of understand that is, you know, when we hit our elbow, it's no real funny matter, right? It's a stinger that you kind of get. Well, I constantly get that throughout the day because of my condition and also because of my line of work. I use my hands a lot, clenching, kicking, and everything in between. So that toll really takes its toll on my quality of life after the fact. And that's what I'm trying to manage in regards to pain, and also use medical cannabis because it's the only alternative for me.
So did this condition evolve as a result of your line of work?
Yes. It also started very much earlier. In the sense that in a previous life, I was a skateboarder, and I used to jump off of, you know, dozens of sets of handrails and stairs, and before I fell, I didn't realize I was actually terrified of heights. So it was about that time I fell and broke my hand, 2 breaks, 4 fractures. They took bone out of my hip and made me a new wrist and for a bone graft. So there was already arthritis and limited movement in regards to, rotation in regards to my wrist, and it degenerated from there. Because as my mother, she has arthritis in her osteoarthritis rather. And it's very much a degenerative disease that I have myself, and it's degenerated from there to become bilateral neuropathic pain.
Wow, so you better win all of your fights.
Well, that's always a must in general, but in regards to my own condition, it's something I have to deal with, and not being able to medicate with cannabis puts me at a competitive disadvantage compared to my opponents who can opt out for first-line medications. Whether you're for or against cannabis, I think we can kind of agree that something like Vicodin, which is allowed, is a much more serious medication than something like cannabis, where like I mentioned, my opponent, whether it's this fight or next, could opt out for something like Vicodin and it be in their system and there wouldn't be an issue, where cannabis and any type of cannabinoid will get me a 2-year suspension. Really? So it's really the discrimination in regards to my medicine as a Canadian, where it obviously is a fundamental right being attached to healthcare. So
is that what the alternative would be an opiate like Vicodin?
Yeah, and that's something I've had to exhaust throughout this process. It's been an 18-month application. It's called a therapeutic use exemption. So as I mentioned, cannabis is right now on the prohibited list, which it's putting it right up there in regards to steroids and other performance enhancing drugs like HGH or anything like that, which is madness. Right. But with that being said, I had to first exhaust all my first-line medications, where it's something taken like SSCR, antidepressants, opioids, and let the basically the side effects, which there were many, take hold, and use that as proof why cannabis is the better alternative, which is kind of a backwards way to medicine if you think about it, right? Yep. My family doctor is who I've been working with in many of this process, and he's kind of scratching his head in the sense of modern medicine. When we find something that works, we don't then exhaust everything else just to come back to where we came from. Right. But that's where I kind of lie in there being, this stigma and this certain perception of cannabis that is in the anti-doping agency.
Sure. Are you the only MMA fighter in the league that's lobbying this way?
I'm not only the only UFC fighter, but I'm actually the first professional athlete ever. United States Anti-Doping Agency is a part of WADA. So this is the under the umbrella of the World Anti-Doping Agency. So the same standards and same organization that tests for the Olympics as well. So this in many ways would set precedent not only for myself, but all other Canadian athletes moving forward. Because my next fight is not against one man, it's against the stigma of medical cannabis.
Wow, interesting. And so how do you feel that your fight is progressing? Are you getting understanding? Are you making progress? Are we moving towards the elimination of CBDs and THC from the prohibited list?
CBD at this point is removed from the prohibited list. It's the application of having THC in it, and which is the one that works best for me as prescribed by my doctor. And again, there's an aspect in regards to obviously, as an athlete, I have to become the best me on game day. And without being able to have my medication, I'm at a competitive disadvantage, as I've spoken about. But, anything worth fighting for, it usually takes a long time. I have resubmitted my therapeutic use exemption, again, under the guise of not only, under the recommendation and help of my family doctor, but also from the my medical cannabis health practitioner, Solace Health Network, who has been very instrumental in regards to empowering me as a patient and an athlete.
Okay, so if you, at this point, you're not allowed, you can't use cannabinoids to treat your condition leading up to this fight because it'll be in your system and you would be disqualified and penalized and banned for 2 years?
Yeah. Diving even deeper into that, so there's something called out of competition and in competition. The UFC, who has been very helpful throughout this process, and has partnered with USADA as a third-party testing organization. And again, don't get me wrong, huge believer in clean sport. I'm happily a part of this program because, again, a level playing field is what I truly believe in, and that removes any actual PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. And that's what something that USADA or the CCES and even WADA are very instrumental in regards to not only my sport, but all governing sports that they deal with. So what I'm trying to do is give them enough information and enough medical work along the way that they can't deny me, right? Because one of the really progressive things that the UFC has done is with the out of competition, they don't test for cannabis. But it's the in competition that they do. But again, it's a little backwards approach in the aspect of the hardest parts of training is leading up to the last month. And I have to taper off and make sure that cannabis is not in my system in any way, shape, or form. Moreover, the blanket term, the blanket test that they use is actually in many ways a discriminative against females, because they test for fat. Well, cannabis attaches to fat, and that's where they test it through. And because women percentage have higher fat levels in regards to just this specific test, it actually, again, discriminates them longer. And that's one of the things I want to bring out there as well.
You bet. So has it not occurred to the anti-doping agencies that Vicodin and opiates are actually performance-deprecating drugs, and especially in your line of work, which beyond any other relies on speed of reaction and action? I mean, it just strikes me as completely unintellectual, unintelligent.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is an outdated mindset. Again, they're drawing from a US-based medicine practitioner, right? Like they're the base, right? So again, with cannabis being a Schedule I drug, there's no medical properties at all. It's at the same level as heroin for whatever reason. Well, we know what reason, because of prohibition and because of even more outdated thought processes in regards to racist laws, et cetera, that have come up in regards to where cannabis finds itself in the States. And luckily, Canada was able to break from. But with that being said, there is a pathway to get this therapeutic exemption. It's just the process of giving them more and more information, which I have over the course of the 18 months, until they can't say no. If you build it up of a case, because again, they never say no, they say denied, please give us more information. And that's where I find myself in. And again, in the structure, what I'm asking for is to be able to medicate all the way to the day before my fight, which is weigh-ins, because of the debilitating pain that I feel and suffer from in regards to not only my condition, but also my line of work. And this is a form of pain management and recovery. So I'm medicating after every training session, and I plan to do that after my fight. So it removes any conversation about whether it's performance enhancing or even any type of inebriation, because of the fact that I won't be competing medicated. I will be waking up the day of my fight, competing, and then the next day recover. So I'm trying to make this as good of a case, and it's been taking a long time, but again, worth the wait.
You bet. Okay, so tell us about your fight on December 8th.
I'm really excited. Obviously, fighting in front of a hometown crowd, fighting in Toronto, Scotiabank Arena. So it's very exciting to bring it all home. I've always tried to encompass the fighter's journey in my martial arts, traveling, training, and fighting all over the world. But as I said, very excited to fight in Toronto. My opponent, Eric Anders, is a tough individual. He's going to try and knock off my block, but I'm going to show him the difference between chess and checkers. And I'm really going to break him mentally and physically. All
right, great. Well, we'll be rooting for you. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Well, that was amazing. Now I've got Josh Blacher here. Blacher?
Blacher.
Josh Blacher is here. Blacher, good night. He's the Chief Business Officer of InMed Pharmaceuticals, trading on the TSX under the symbol IN. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Josh, we just covered InMed's quarter yesterday, and unlike or much like most of the sector, you're still in a development phase, so there wasn't a lot of, well, there's no profit, obviously, but you were making advances in one of the drugs in particular that caught our interest, INM-750, which was an approach to treating the disease that is probably one of the most horrible things that anybody could go through.
Right. Epidermolysis bullosa.
Epidermolysis bullosa. What is that?
We will call it EB. EB is a malfunction of the glue that holds the two layers of the skin together, the dermis and the epidermis. It's a genetic condition, unfortunately, so children are born with it. It's very, very severe, and the particular part of EB that we're working on is a subset that relates to a regulation of a certain protein called keratins. So we're hoping not only to alleviate the symptoms, of which there are several and quite severe, but also to help the skin teach itself to grow again.
Wow, interesting. So what is the current available treatment that is not cannabinoid derived?
Well, there are none, unfortunately. There are no approved drugs for EB. So EB patients unfortunately use a myriad of creams and ointments and bandages. Essentially, it's a children's disease. Most of the children do not advance to more than 20 or 30 years of age, sadly, and they spend most of their time bandaged up from head to toe. And they have a number of ointments and creams that are working on wound healing and itching and pain, inflammation, things like that. So we are hoping to hit this right on the head.
Wow. Okay, so InMed's business model is essentially to isolate cannabinoid molecules and create proprietary drugs from them.
Right.
And you guys, I've just sort of cottoned on to the idea that you guys aren't growing marijuana plants, you're biosynthesizing your cannabinoids.
That's right.
And tell me about that process, because I've only had a couple of guests in here who can do that, and that scares the bejesus out of all them farmers out there, I'll tell you.
It certainly does, and by the way, none of them want to be farmers.
Right.
They all would prefer to just sell products to the marketplace. What we do is we create a DNA blueprint, so to speak, of each of the 90 cannabinoids, and through some high technology, we insert
High
that
technology?
high technology
Okay.
and high science. We are able to transplant the cannabinoids into a fermentation broth that grows and develops the broth.
Okay.
So at the end of the process, which is very, very short, you get 100% highly pure pharmaceutical grade cannabinoids. So it could be very disruptive insofar as if we can get this right and get the cost structure right, then theoretically we can supplant the growing, extracting, harvesting market.
Okay, so is it the case of where you're actually using genetically modified yeasts, enzymes, and
Sort of, yes. Okay. So most of our competitors, in fact, are using yeast to bioferment. We actually went into this agnostically. We looked at yeast and bacteria. The bacteria we use is E. coli. And again, we went into this agnostically and we found much more robust results with the E. coli production methodology. And we have been able to wrap some very serious IP around that, which is not the case with the yeast platform.
Right, so there's going to be a positive use for E. coli bacteria.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Correct.
All right, so then how far off are you to being able to create commercial scale quantities of cannabinoids using this process?
Right, so we have spent the last 3+ years actually trying to perfect what's called the plasma or the vector, which is the underlying science. And we're now moving to a portion of the technology that is working on sort of the scale up part of it. So we're able to do a number of these cannabinoids or produce a number of these cannabinoids at what's called a benchtop scale. And now we're working to scale it up to a commercial scale. And so we think we'll be able to get there in about 9 to 12 months.
Sure. So the National Research Council of Canada is involved in this? Are they just funders?
No, they're strategic partners with us. They are going to be side by side with us in this biofermentation process. They have great facilities, and we're hoping that they remain very good partners to us going forward.
Okay, so they're providing scientific verification, participation?
Exactly. A lot of know-how, some money, resources, things of that nature.
Well, very interesting. Okay, so you filed a patent application for treatment of pain with cannabinoids back in September.
Right.
And is that sort of the value proposition for the company to investors, is that you're going to create patented medicines that will arguably, theoretically, potentially become mainstream one day and blockbuster drugs in and of their own? Absolutely.
So we're working, you can really think of our company as twofold. The first one is what we call a disruptive platform technology, where we're able to manufacture any cannabinoid at a commercial scale and at pharmaceutical grade, right? So that can be good for us. That will be good for us. We also think that that will be applicable to pharmaceutical companies. So for example, if the Pfizers, Mercks, Lillys of the world, say, hey, InMed, can you manufacture for us, cannabinoid number 72 and 21 for the treatment of COPD or lung cancer, psoriasis, you name it, we will be the address. So that's business number one. That's, I think, the golden egg. Business number two is a really interesting R&D platform. So we're working on this rare skin condition called EB, and we're also working on glaucoma and trigeminal pain. which is pain that emanates from the trigeminal nerve right here.
The essence of migraines, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually called the suicide pain or the suicide migraine.
Because it's so bad you just want to kill yourself?
And unfortunately, there are several cases where that has happened.
Wow.
They liken it to somebody being struck with a lightning bolt.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so then, I mean, what is the rate at which these drugs have the potential to be developed and launched into commercial use, or to, I mean, is there an FDA process that needs to occur, or a Health Canada process in Canada?
Yes, absolutely. So the EB program is our most advanced program. We think we are under a year from getting into the clinic. We will be talking to the regulators, both Canadian and US regulators, within the next several months to give us some guidance on the phase 1. And then we'll be in the clinic. Now, with an orphan indication such as EB, that means there are no approved drugs, and there are very few companies in the market working on that, and even fewer patients that can be served by that. Hopefully, we'll be able to speed through the clinical trials and get onto the market hopefully by 2021, 2022.
Wow. Okay, then. What is the patient coterie size of EB sufferers globally? Yeah, it's actually very difficult to get epidemiology data on EB, but we think it's between 10 and 50,000 patients worldwide. Wow. Again, it's difficult to get the numbers, but our base case we assume is 10,000, and we can justify a commercial case of $1 billion drug with that. So in terms of the biosynthesis of cannabinoids, how many competitors do you have that you're aware of globally, and what is the where do you sort of stack up against those competitors? Okay, so there are probably a small handful of companies that are doing it with a yeast-based production system. Again, ours is E. coli. We're not aware of any other companies that are working on E. coli, so we stand alone doing that. Ultimately, the end users, again, are going to be the pharmaceutical companies that are looking for pharmaceutical-grade cannabinoids for unmet medical needs, and potentially the recreational market. If we can get to a scale and a cost structure that is competitive with the growing, harvesting, extracting model, and I think we will be able to do that, then this potentially could supplant that industry altogether. So you think there's a real chance that the majority of cannabinoids that we find in consumer packaged goods, I mean, obviously you're never going to compete with the premium dried flower market in the from biosynthetic sources, at least, unless there's a replicator out there. But so all of the consumer packaged goods, topical creams, cosmeceuticals, beverages, foods, candies, could all be basically fueled by biosynthetically derived cannabinoids. That's correct. And I would say even the flower market, more and more, you do have your hardcore sort of folks that are interested in partaking in cannabis use via flower, but a growing number of those folks are looking for more purified, consistent strains through oils and extractions. And there, if we choose to go down this path, yes, we will be the address. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's great, Josh. We're going to keep watching. We'll come back to you in a quarter's time to see how you're doing. Thanks for joining me today. Thank you. We'll be right back. We are going to talk to Hamed Shahbazi, who is the CEO of a new company. And if you don't remember the name Hamed Shahbazi, that's probably because you don't remember TO Networks. TO Networks was a great success, and Hamed has now got a new company, Health Technologies, and here he is. Hey, welcome back. My guest this segment is Hamed Shahbazi, Chairman and CEO of Health Technologies Corp, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol WELL. Hamed, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
It has been a while. So the last time I talked to you, you were diligently building TO Networks, which you exited with a buyout from, was it Apple?
PayPal.
PayPal, rather. PayPal. Close enough, Right. So now you've got this new company, Health Technologies Corp. Yes. Tell me, what is the business model?
We're really focused on modernizing and digitizing primary healthcare in Canada. We've got a great medical system here in Canada, lots of affordability and access, but if you've been to a walk-in clinic or family care practice lately, you might notice that it's not very digital, meaning that it's hard to create an appointment online or digitally interact with the clinic or even look and be exposed to your own personal health information. And so these, while many of the 40 countries that have modern medical systems have some of these issues, Canada is actually fairly under-digitized compared to many of those countries. And so if you compare, for example, to the United States, an HMO like Kaiser Permanente will deliver over 50% of all its patient visits through virtual care, like through a piece of glass. We're probably a very small fraction of that. Right. And so we just saw an opportunity, as a tech guy, saw an opportunity to help solve some of those problems. And what we've seen is that some of that lack of digitization deals with lack of scale. So we have a very fragmented primary healthcare system here, where owners sort of manage, doctors sort of manage their own clinics and also see 40 patients a day. And technology doesn't really work well in a non-scaled environment because it's expensive and it's difficult to implement. And so we're trying to resolve that through building our own scale. So we've made a number of clinical acquisitions and are now the largest provider of or largest owner of clinics in British Columbia.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. And so then this will be paid for through the healthcare systems or through what mechanism?
Yeah, so when we own the clinics, but most of the payment for the services is coming through the healthcare system. So we have a single payer environment, but we have products and services that are not covered by the government. So but the base product, which is you seeing your doctor, is essentially reimbursed through MSP in BC. We're in BC today, not yet in Ontario, but the equivalent obviously would be OHIP.
I see. And is your ambition to cover the entire Canadian market?
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to build scale and density in BC, and then we wanted to sort of replicate that in other markets. So we're definitely looking at Ontario very closely. Okay, and so out of Canada then, is there a global opportunity for this as well? There really is, yeah. Okay. That's the investment of Sir Li Ka-shing. Right, yeah. Okay. An incredible guy who happens to be the owner of the largest chain of pharmacies in Asia. And so already involved in healthcare, service category effectively. Right. As you may know, pharmacies are already starting to provide some clinical services. In the U.S., a lot of the big pharmacy chains are already offering walk-in medical clinic services and so forth. So. And in China, we see an emerging clinic scene, and as we grow our intellectual property here and our software, we want to be able to participate in that marketplace. But for the first little while, we're going to be focused in Canada here. We think there's a big opportunity here. Sure. So, are you cognizant or you're sort of conversant with the Chinese system? Is there a digitized interaction there, or is that, again, back to why Li Ka-shing is involved? I think what we see in China right now is mostly a culture of big hospitals where people go to in order to get health care. But like Canada. Right. You would go there for like a flu, or you would go there for something a lot more serious. But because of the sheer load, I think what's happening is there's an emerging clinic scene for disease types that are not as, sort of episodes that are not as serious. And so, we haven't done anything there yet, but I think we do see an opportunity. In the case of Li Ka-shing, as you know, he's a very prolific investor in Canada. At one point in time was the largest, shareholder of CIBC, and owns Husky Oil, and so very, very involved in Canada. So we're definitely very happy to have him on board, and they see an opportunity in what we're doing in Canada. Right. Yeah. Interesting. So then, how fast will this scale up? It's moving very quickly. There's basically three types of I guess acquisitions or three vectors to the business model. Insured services. So this is where you see your doctor. There's no fee to you. There's a whole episodical elective fee opportunity for fee for service in terms of things that are not covered by insurance that you could acquire, and that's a portfolio of services that we're building and adding. And then really what we'd like to build is software and workflow all around this sort of more enterprise grade, more digital clinic environment, and we'd like to then license that to other people's clinics. So what you'll see us do is emerge as a digital service provider. Our go-to-market strategy made a lot of sense to come in through the clinics to really master this business and be able to then have the authenticity to say, hey, we've deployed software, it works. We're now going to license that to other people's clinics. But I think what you'll see is us continuing to grow our own clinical business as well.
Wow. So, but evolving it as a software as a service ultimately. And that's interesting to me because that's what you did with TO Networks, really, was a software as a service that ultimately was adopted by some of the biggest payees in the service industry.
Exactly.
Okay, so then why is it that the opportunity exists for you to come along and pick up the strands from these, sort of fractured opportunities, as you say? Why hasn't some other large technology provider like IBM or Siemens come in and recognize the opportunity, and what's to stop them from doing so in the future?
Yeah, and I think a couple of large companies have. TELUS has been very successful in this category. TELUS Health is deployed a lot of capital, done a lot of very interesting acquisitions, and I think been very successful. We watch them very carefully and closely, and we could even have partnership opportunities with them. And others, I think TELUS is probably the most notable. Loblaw made a very important acquisition last year of an EMR company called QHR, $170 million. It was a really nice premium on that company's EBITDA, and so I think there's a lot of enthusiasm in the space. I mean, we have a $250 billion healthcare market here in Canada. Right. It's one of our biggest sectors, and it's growing.
Interesting. Okay, so then barriers to entry in terms of other competitors, not so much?
Well, I think there are probably fewer barriers to entry in terms of becoming a clinic owner. Okay. But I think that being able to then cross the chasm to being a technology service provider, and really what we're doing is we're sort of reimagining the business of primary healthcare from being just a place where you go and visit your doctor to perhaps a place where you go for the entire allied health professional experience. So if your doctor wants you to see a sleep expert, that person would be within the group, or women's health or men's health, and just essentially being able to make those referrals in a very digital and very cohesive way, and having all that data in one place so that you don't have various different versions of you in all the different electronic medical record systems. And so we believe there's an opportunity here to make all of that more cohesive and just easier for the patient experience.
Sure. You already reported $2 million in revenue last quarter, and it looks like you're getting very close to profitability here. Will that profitability be negatively impacted in the timeline because you're going to reinvest capital into expansion and additional technology features?
Well, the $2 million of revenue came from about 6 clinics that we owned. We actually, November 1st, we closed on another 13 clinics, which gets us closer to about $30 million in revenue. Wow. Because we're now above 600,000 patient visits a year. And actually, the clinics are profitable. We have a profitable, EBITDA contribution that comes from the clinics. But we are standing up shared services at headquarters, and so that's why we're not profitable today. But we're not far from being profitable. Sure. So I think as you'll see that we'll again be investing in digital technologies, building out our scale, and I think the story is developing very nicely, and we're kind of ahead of plan in terms of where we wanted to be in our scale.
Sure. Well, it sounds like another great idea that you're executing on with the Plum and with a great investor base by the looks of things. We'll follow with interest, Hamed, and have you back soon. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure.
What? Oh, hey.
What do you got to say for yourself there, young fella?
Oh, well, I tell you, do you remember his last deal? Hamed Shahbazi's our last guest deal. TO Networks sold it to PayPal.
You know who he's really good friends with?
No.
Charlie Purpuritas.
No.
You want to bet?
Nope.
You want to bet?
Nope. GGB,
just because
right?
I lost the gold bet the other night, you think now...
What? There was no bet.
I bet you.
GGB, in your own mind, maybe. GGB, CNX. Okay,
so... This guy's a super smart guy. He's on the board of Aqueous.
Aqueous.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah. And
We're going to look at an intraday chart of, this is Green Growth Brands Limited. Green Growth Brands.
GGB?
Just started trading today. Now I want all of the big dreamers out there, all the big guys who are raising 200, 300 million and giving themselves 80% control of the company and coming out with a $25 share price to take a page from the book of Green Growth Brands. Maybe not.
What's it doing?
Well, it came out of the chute today at 305. What was it? Let's see. No, it came out of the chute.
That's the deal. My buddy's involved. He says he's the
425.
second biggest shareholder.
425.
Right, I shouldn't say.
Closed the day at 305 on a day such as today. But look at that action, Eddie. This is intraday. Like, I mean...
Okay. I want to just see if this is my guy.
So, Green, do you know the story behind this thing?
No.
All right. Cutting away from NDI now. I am about to show you something. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about why we should be excited about this company. And
who's involved in this company that you know?
Nobody.
So this guy Shahbazi's not involved?
No. We're completely different subject matter now.
Okay.
We're talking about the first day of trading for Green Growth Brands.
How many shares?
Well, if this damn internet would actually function today, I would be able to tell you. But what's interesting about this brand is, so this is the company that was started by the guys from companies like American Eagle, DSW, Victoria's Secret, L Brands. So these guys have raised 140 million bucks apparently, and these guys are probably the most, in their PowerPoint they refer to themselves as they have the most retail experience of any cannabis company in the world. So these are the guys who built the brands behind Designer Shoe Warehouse, American Eagle, Body and Bath Works, Victoria's Secret, and they are now in the cannabis space. So that's why, and the other thing that I liked about it is they came out with a share structure that was not particularly egregious and a share price that, when the market finally figures out who these guys are, which clearly they haven't done, and this is the thing, they need our help. So I'm telling you, this thing closing at 305, in my opinion, is an opportunity. Now, I guess we're going to wait and see. You're looking at the pro forma financials. It's not anything to get super excited about because it is pro forma. But they came out with a decent structure and a decent share price for an IPO, and I think that's key. So on my NDI now, here are some of the brands that they're going to come out with. So,
really?
Yeah.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane CBD water. Mary Jane, 4 different flavors: lemon, lime, grape. I mean, come on. These guys are going to be huge at it. Huge! Anyways, so, but the first day was lackluster, and obviously, who wasn't lackluster? Let's go see what the carnage looks like on our our index.
You know what? I put all the stuff over there, and now it's over, back and forth.
Jesus, you just can't rely on the world anymore.
You can't rely on anybody.
Biggest loser in the market today on the large caps was T-God, lost 8.9%, closed at 337, adding to his downward trajectory. What is it? Down a total of, we'll call it 20% over the last 3 sessions. Mind you, the whole market's getting dragged lower. Thanks to weakness in the broader markets, the S&P and the commodities sector, oil's at an all-time low, not an all-time low, but at a recent all-time low. While natural gas is up. A recent all-time low. While natural gas is up, inexplicably. Now, what the hell is going on there, Edward?
What if we just said natural gas is up? Why is oil low?
What?
What?
Why is oil low?
Oil.
Anyways, Afria took a real pounding today. It got ass raped, if you ask me. Look at that, down another 9% after 9% yesterday. Like,
What happened to it?
It got seriously compromised from behind. I'm not going to repeat such off-color remarks, Edward. Those are designed to both fly by the consciousness and have people go like, "Did he just say what I think he just said?"
No.
Yeah, they got asked.
In case the guys are dozing off there.
Well, exactly. In case you thought the conversation was dying down. CanTrust also, you know.
Earnings out tomorrow, apparently.
Earnings out tomorrow on CanTrust. Earnings out tomorrow.
There's been some changes there, apparently.
Yeah, well, the vice president of cultivation and Brad Rogers, the former president, both hit the bricks yesterday. Brad
hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back
no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road. Anyways, organograms also down 5 to 538. Like, we're looking at, it looks like the last
hurrah.
4 months just did not happen.
Well, that's the problem, right? Somebody made, somebody lost.
Somebody done somebody wrong song. Anyways, so that's on the large caps. Let's see how the CSE did, because they were only down.
These are the big boys. A little bit.
Yeah, that's all right. So TerrAscend only lost 0.94%. Meh. But Veritas Pharma, oh my God, it's a run for the exit. Sproutly Canada, also down dramatically, despite a great press release today, which I didn't see covered in our, I think came out after we'd already published the news. Down 16.3%. Empower Clinics lost 14%. Like, these are big numbers. Let's see who did well today. That's what I want to know. Who does well in a number like today? Tidal Royalty, up 2 cents. I guess that's doing well.
Isodiol.
Isodiol. Wildflower Brands gained 9.2%. Lotus Ventures.
Canada Royalty Corp up 50 cents. 50 cent. OH.
Yeah. 886. You know, I bought that 3 days ago. No, 4 sessions ago. I bought Canada Royalty at $9.70 a share. You think I'm smarting?
What price?
$9.70. Rocked up to $10.50. I was like, nah, should I? Nah, I'm going to let it ride.
Yeah.
Boom. Now?
Take some bigger ones. I want some bigger profits.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at a giant loss. Well, not giant, but Shark International Systems. Don't know what that's doing on our cannabis index, but there you have it. Huge actually gained a penny today. They announced that they were finally going to be able to sell other people's cannabis, which is somewhat of a positive development. Green Thumb Industries, $15.84 today, up 7 cents. Not bad. Not bad at all. Couple of questions we want to talk to our audience about. Xjester X. Hello, Xjester X. You're a regular fellow around here, aren't you? Thoughts on the GGB IPO and the company? Well, as I just said, I think the company is probably going to do some amazing things in the space by virtue of their brand experience, but the IPO, I think the IPO was brilliantly priced.
What did it come out at? What was it?
Came out at 4 and promptly sold off to, well, it closed at 305.
Okay, not a bad deal for somebody.
Well, it's not like Cureleaf came out at 12 and sold off to 750 in the first day.
Or 11.45 went to 7.10.
Yeah, exactly. Or
well, let's see. That's
our
a dollar
friends at Australis.
It's about the same percentage.
Australis came out at $7, rocked up to 17, and then dropped down to 3.
At least gave everybody a chance.
Yeah, that's right. If you were very quick, you might have actually got 17.
Well, you might have 16.
16?
And then, well, it doesn't matter, neither here nor there. If you 12 would have been nice.
12 would have been nice. You know, we spoke to some other folks here today, Ed, and I thought that we should probably we should refer to that one, which oh, where did it go? It was here, but it's been removed for some reason. Sorry? Oh yeah, we talked to LGC Capital today. John McMullen and his Italian pal.
I know John. I used to work with John.
Did you?
Yeah.
Here's what they had to say.
Hey, John. Why didn't you tell me John was coming on? I would have,
well, it's not on here. It's not on here. Like, if you're going to paper us up,
wait a minute.
It's got to be everything.
I'm telling you, it's mystery guest time.
That's right. We don't know who it's going to be, but somebody.
I think John's very.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back again. My guests in this segment are John McMullen, who's the CEO, and Luca Marola, who is the founder of EasyJoint. John's the CEO of LGC Capital, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol LG. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. Good day.
Hi.
Yeah, so John, why don't we start with an overview of LGC Capital? What's the business?
The business is simple. We have partnered and invested with domestic operations globally in Jamaica, Australia, Italy, and also in Geneva. Plus, we also have an operation in Montreal, Canada. So we have operations growing and producing cannabis and cannabis-like products throughout the world with brands such as EasyJoint now, with our partners, which we're very proud to be partners with now, and Verity in Geneva. And we also have brands coming out of Jamaica. So very exciting business happening.
So you're in the business of selling marijuana.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's great. So Luca, tell me about EasyRoll and how you came to found it, and what kind of market share of Italy's cannabis market do you have?
Yes, in Italy it's not legal to sell marijuana. So 18 months ago, we started with another business. We usually sell CBD flowers, with hemp flowers or cannabis flowers without THC, but with a high level of CBD, of cannabidiol. And now in Italy was born a new market, and this market ha superato. Is not only a market for Italy, but in all over Europe, other brands are starting this kind of market.
Interesting. So Italians now can enjoy CBD cigarettes to smoke?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
The product's been sold in Italy since 2013.
Oh.
So it's a very established market.
Interesting. Okay, and so what is the path until Italy becomes legal for? Is it legal? Is THC legal as a medicine at this point?
The medical cannabis is legal now in Italy, but only the state can produce it and sell it through the pharmacies. Our kind of marijuana is not a medical cannabis, of course, but the cannabinoids which are present in it can have an interesting effect for the people. For example, anxiety, insomnia, and so on. With the CBD that is not illegal, is a good come si può dire, stuff to.
Okay.
The product line that EasyJoint carries is also flowers, but also tinctures and drops that are sold. And if anyone goes to EasyJoint IT, they can actually see a complete line of products that are being sold. EasyJoint's products are sold in over 450 locations throughout Italy, including 11 flagship stores. And with that, 75% is sold throughout the stores and its chains, but also 25% online. So if anyone wants to learn more about EasyJoint, we welcome you the opportunity to take a look at their website and see the impact that Luca and his team has put on the cannabinoid business in Europe.
Sure. Okay, so John, tell me, LGC seems to be making some moves into, you know, every time I turn around, there's a new press release about a different country. What's the global strategy?
The global strategy is to be working in domestic. We're going to partner, as we have shown to the market to date, partner with domestic operations globally, and then we're going to crossbreed all of the brands that are being created in those respective countries collectively amongst all the parties. So we're going to be providing globally, because the consumer has to have a choice in what they can consume and what they can enjoy, both medically and recreationally, and especially recreationally in Italy for today. But as borders open, as more countries come online, you're going to see LGC expand And that really is our goal here, is to have as much of the market as possible, especially in Europe, because when you look at the European market right now, if you see what's been the reports out there, people look at the United States market being valued around 75 billion. We're looking at close to 100 billion valuation for the European market, and being there for the last 2 years, working on these deals, finding people like Luca, joining everyone together. It's been an incredible journey, but we're far from finished. And frankly, as I was speaking to some people here at the MJ Business Conference here last night, we're not in the first inning for LGC or second inning. We're actually in the first few hours of the game. And you're going to see a lot more opportunity come through the doors, and our shareholders will be well rewarded.
Okay. So tell me, how much money has gone into LGC to date, and how many shares do you have outstanding?
To date, we've done 3 raises. We've raised $15 million, but with that, we had some warrants that brought in another 5. So we've collectively $20 million in total. We have 380 million shares outstanding, of which 30% is held by management. But when we have partnerships, because we do cash and share deals, the partners end up becoming very good shareholders. On top of that, with our close friends and associates, I can say that 40% of the stock is actually in friendly hands. The rest is retail and institutions around the world.
Wow. That's great. Okay, so then in terms of raising, raising the capital you need to execute on your business plan its entirety, do you need to raise more money, or are you pretty much going to be able to finance growth out of cash flow?
We're not in the mode to raise money at this time, and we are looking at cash flow because LGC does deals whereby we do a cash and stock incentive. And if you look at some of our projects, we actually have a royalty on a number of these companies, so that as they create income, such as EasyJoint, that royalty will be coming to LGC. So that's where we're having one mode of cash flow into the company right away.
Okay, so there's some additional markets opening up in Europe, and from where we sit over here, it's hard to keep track of what's going to be next. What are the next countries in Europe that are going to become legal that have big populations?
Well, it's interesting. Poland's been out there on the medical side. There are over 300,000 patients in that country. That's very interesting. We also, at the Jamaican conference, the CanX conference, the Mexican representation was excellent, and they've been reaching out to us as well. I think that's an excellent market as well that I think the world has to take a real hard look at. The incoming president and one of his ministers has obviously put forward medical and also recreation. So the world is opening up, and obviously we like to be there, and we are getting approached as a company because as you bring good people to the table, it draws more high-quality companies to talk to. So there's going to be a lot more, and you're going to have to just wait and let us come out and tell you which countries are going to be in next, but it's out there.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Guys, we're going to leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in a quarter's time and see how you progress. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Anything can happen.
Ciao.
Italian, eh?
Nice to see John McMullen. I haven't seen him in a while. I used to work with him at Yorkton. He's looking pretty
down
good.
In Las
he
Vegas.
certainly looks successful.
Successful.
You know?
Yeah.
Is that where they are in Vegas?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And where are we? We're here.
We're right here. Yeah. So the Tilray results. You talk about those a little bit, Ed? Well, Tilray results are out.
I gotta pick up my phone only to look at.
Okay, you look at it. You tell me what's going on in the aftermarket. Okay. I'm going to tell you that Tilray lost 20 cents a share.
Okay.
And they announced an increase in revenue to 10 million US, up 85% over the third quarter last year. Big surprise there. That's because marijuana is legal now in Canada, maybe? Oh, I don't know. Total equivalent of kilograms sold, total kilogram equivalent sold increased by double to 1,600 kilograms.
So tell me, what was the revenue top line number compared to, like, what are they saying? What did it increase by? So we had good increase in revenue?
It was up 85.8%.
And how much cash did they lose? What did they say? 10
million?
They
lost 20 cents a share.
But I don't know how many shares. I don't know what that means.
Well, 18.7 million was the net loss. Compared to 1.8 million, or 2 cents a share loss in the same quarter
a year
previous
ago.
year. Yeah.
Well, look, so you know,
what's the aftermarket telling you?
The stock's down $3.50. It was down about 5 or 6. So it's come back a bit. So this looks like it's kind of so far a non-event quarter. A little bit negative, but there's been a negativity all around us. So if this thing starts to go positive in the next hour and in tomorrow, I think that would augur well for cannabis stocks. It's not getting destroyed here.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's phone's on.
Mm-hmm. So the average net
Always
selling
blame.
price of $8 a gram Canadian. That's towards the high end, which was good.
Yeah.
What else? They imported CBD oil to the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So I wonder if they were behind the, sort of the spearhead, their tip of the spear into the UK market.
How much oil would... I wonder if Peter Cunningham's seen any of that oil. He's in the UK.
I don't know. We should ask him. Hey, Peter, if you're watching.
Hey, you all oiled up there?
Yeah, you all slickered up. Anyways, so they exported CBD 100 medical cannabis, an oral solution of cannabinoid extract from Canada to Australia. Now that's some long traveling cannabinoids. Are they not good?
What was the top number? Sorry.
Top line revenue? 10 million.
10 million for the quarter.
US.
For the quarter.
12.9 million Canadian for the quarter.
And so I got to tell you, when these numbers start to come out in a legal environment, a lot of people can now start taking, pen to paper and start working out ratios and stuff. And that's when it gets a little dicey for
everybody.
Well, except the guys that are short.
Right.
Look, they've had a spectacular move. Guys that have made so much money,
yes.
They actually think they're smart now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
They don't feel that smart today.
Well.
Maybe the guys who got
smart.
in, everybody who was in 2013 is feeling pretty smart today.
Look, there's been some fortunes made.
Oh.
Not by me.
Nor me.
Thank you.
No. Are you kidding? I've been spending like a drunken sailor for 5 years now.
Remember the term soldier of fortune?
Soldier of misfortune?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me. Soldier of misfortune.
That's me too. Well, no wonder we get along so well. Hey, we should go have a beer after
I think
this.
we laugh too hard. I think we laugh too much. That's why it's hard to make a lot of money when you're laughing all the time.
That's a funny thing, Edward, but what would you rather be doing? Laughing so hard that you're missing out on making money, or making so much money that you don't have time to laugh?
Yeah, the former. I'd rather laugh. I'd rather laugh because...
Not me, I'd rather be a miserable rich old bastard.
Well, the problem with being a rich old bastard is...
You can buy all your company.
Eventually, the dice come up snake eyes.
Ooh.
And
the chickens come home to roost?
You're going to the cemetery.
Yeah.
Well, you may choose the urn,
The urn?
The burn to earn. Burn to earn.
Burn to earn.
Yeah.
And once you've earned, you burn.
That's the crematorium.
Well, if you get the trophy wife, then she just poisons you incrementally.
Bill Gates had a good one. He said after the first few million, after he said, I can understand why everybody wants to make a few $1 million, but after that, it's all hamburger. That's what he said.
He doesn't know how to live.
I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, but he's the kind of guy who would go to McDonald's and have a cheeseburger and a Coke when he could afford filet mignon and a bottle of wine.
Maybe they bring the McDonald's to him.
Yeah, probably.
I don't.
Probably owns a few franchises.
Well,
I bet you he's the guy in the clown
Buffett likes Dairy Queen. You know why?
Pepsi.
And Coke. No, Coke.
Oh, Coke.
Because he owns it. He owns them both. Yeah. Now, money doesn't make you happy, but it just...
Not having any makes you miserable.
Well...
And I'll tell you, there's been times where I'm sitting there going, pretty sure the only reason I'm this happy right now is because I just cashed this check. Yeah. Well, it's all a compromise.
I like the emblem for Wayland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one.
Now the Aurora one there is a little...
So who else has earnings coming out this week? Oh, Canopy Growth.
The big boy.
CannTrust at the end of the day tomorrow.
There's a slew of them. And next week...
so this could...
Alethea's coming out next week.
Aletheia. They have earnings? Or are they just going to report financial
They're going to report their financials. They've got 50,000 customers.
Whoa! You should be able to make money off of 50,000 customers.
I think... And they don't have all the
bells and whistles, hair,
medical
apparati,
paparazzi.
So, but what's going to happen tomorrow, Ed? Like,
what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah. I mean, oil
we could have said that yesterday.
S&P is sewered. The cannabis stocks are
Tilray
sewered.
slowly. I like to see this. You know, we had results come out, stock sort of drops, and now it's rallied back $4 off the low, roughly. Only $1, $2 off on a $111 stock. That's nothing.
Yeah, but what's the float? 70 million shares?
So it's a lot.
It's the only U.S. stock that's
70 million shares, so that's a $7 billion. Is that what the market cap on this baby is? Let's take a look.
Well, it's got a lot more than that fully diluted, but I'm just saying in the freely tradable float right now. But I think this is the quarter where there starts to be released large swaths
shares
of
issued.
held shares.
Yeah, well,
this is where they'll all be sitting around the table looking at each other and going, "Are you going to sell any?" No, I'm not selling.
Nobody.
Any. You? No,
it's
no.
As one guy gets up and says, "I got to make a quick phone call." Look.
Yeah.
Let's see. But I'll tell you what I was really impressed with, because about 20 minutes to go in the market, the S&P was right at the lows and then clawed back to almost unchanged. So that little head and shoulders reversal thing that we alluded to, you know, is holding. And I think we're gonna have a rally in the big market.
Yeah.
Now, look.
If you have any questions for us, me, Ed, anybody, any of our guests, or the big man himself, you can send them to us. We are a trusted emissary of
we have a phone right directly to the big boy.
Yep.
He does trade the stock market.
Questions into our YouTube chat window, our Facebook window. Don't forget to like us and share us if you think it's appropriate, and if I'm not a little offended by some off-color humor. And don't forget that all of our clips here, all of our interviews are available at Midas Letter Clips on YouTube. If you just want to see one little segment, you don't feel like watching an hour and a half of two old windbags holding forth beyond all comprehension. Anyways, so that's Miller time for us. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all tomorrow, we hope. Have a great night.